There was a time when if you asked what cheap prime lens should I get for my Canon DSLR camera, the response would have been the 50mm f1.8 without hesitation. Canon's little nifty 50 is many photographers' first prime lens upgrade from their kit lens. When I am asked this question now, my response is, without a second thought, the Canon 40mm f2.8 STM pancake lens. The 50mm focal length is highly regarded, and quite rightly so, and I realise that the 40mm focal length may seem a little strange. Before I bought this lens, I too was a little apprehensive about the field of view, but the more I used this lens, the more I started to like it and the more useful I found it became. This lens is perfect when 35mm is a little too wide, but the 50mm focal length is a little too tight. The 50mm prime lens is small, but this lens is tiny. If you want a discreet lens that not only takes up very little space, but also won't attract attention, this is the lens to buy. In a way, this lens looks a little too small, especially when put on larger DSLR cameras, but it does the job, and it does it very well. The build quality of this lens is head and shoulders above that of the Canon 50mm f1.8 prime lens, and this is a well-made lens that is tough, durable and robust. This lens feels like a proper lens, unlike the 50mm f1.8, which feels more like a child's toy. Other than the AF-MF switch on the side of the barrel, there is nothing else on the outside of this lens, but given its tiny dimensions, Canon would have really struggled to fit a focus scale or anything else on it for that matter. The 50mm f1.8 only has the AF-MF switch as well, so the two lenses are similar in this respect. The image quality of this lens is superb and, once again, on a totally different level to that of the 50mm f1.8. This lens may only open up to f2.8, but images captured with this lens wide open are acceptably sharp. Stop the lens down and the sharpness increases. I appreciate the 50mm f1.8 opens up to 1.8, but images captured at this aperture with this lens are very soft and not sharp enough for my liking. To get sharp shots with the 50mm f1.8 you have to stop it down, which makes the f1.8 aperture pretty much useless. The speed of the autofocus on this lens is an improvement on the 50mm f1.8, but it is still not very quick. If you want to capture fast-moving subjects with this lens, you are going to struggle a bit, and whilst you will get some keepers, you're going to end up missing quite a few. Whilst on the subject of focusing, I should point out the manual focus ring is, like the 50mm f1.8, in that it is small and fiddly. How much this will affect you depends on the size of your hands and whether you are comfortable with a small focus ring or not. Should this be a deal breaker? I don't think so. At £189, this little lens is a little more expensive than the Canon 50mm f1.8, which currently retails for £106, but you get so much more for this lens and it is great value for money. The image quality is superior, the build quality is superior, and it feels more like a serious bit of photography equipment than the 50mm f1.8, which again feels more like a child's toy. Overall, the Canon 40mm f2.8 STM pancake lens is an awesome lens and one I highly recommend. I was so impressed with the 40mm pancake lens, I decided to buy its brother, the EFS 24mm f2.8, so I could enjoy the 40mm focal length on my crop sensor 7D as well. If you have reached the end of this footage, I'd just like to say thank you for taking time out. Please feel free to like, comment, share, or give me your experiences of the Canon 40mm f2.8 lens, or indeed the 50mm f1.8.